Welcome to the Volvo Ocean Race. We are 1 week into leg 8, and breaking news, Vestas 11th Hour Racing have just overtaken Turn the Tide on plastic. So, new leader, we're going to see what happens out on the water. But earlier, before I came on air, I spoke with Bianca Cook, so we're going to get a little bit of perspective from the now former race leader out on the water. And then also I'll be talking about winches and how the boats work. But first up, remember, it is 1 week into the race, which means it's Sunday, which means most of you are going to be sitting down to a Sunday lunch right now, at least if you're in Europe. Now, check out this incredible shot, this incredible clip from Team OBR, Brunel, OBR, Sam Greenfield, who sent in this incredible clip about lunchtime on a passing freighter. It's amazing.
Greenie had the drone over the top of this container ship which has gone past, having a nice barbecue on top. And they've just gone past and we can smell the barbecue. They're very envious that we're eating freeze-dried. That was probably made 4 years ago. They're having some nice steaks and beers up on the roof of the container ship.
So yesterday was all about clouds, and it got a little bit wild here with my demonstration in the studio with fans and all sorts of stuff blown all over the place. I certainly had a lot of fun, and looking at the comments, it looks like you did too. However, just to finish up this segment, we've got a bit of an explanation from 8-time Volvo Ocean Racing participant Bauer Becking, explaining his take on how this plays out on the racecourse.
Well, as you can just see, there's just a big cloud over here, and normally when you're in front of the cloud, it's pushing wind out of it. And if you're on the back side of it, there's very often is a vacuum. So that's why I just said to Louis, probably now you're going to make a gain on the upside, because it looks like upside is just on the other side of the cloud. So they're probably coming in the vacuum, so we probably have a little stretch now. Till the cloud gets over us, we're getting light. Axel gets again the new breeze, then probably you get that effect again. So it's clouds is always an interesting thing, and people say, yeah, can't you anticipate on it? But it just all of a sudden appears, and not a lot of action that you can take. So very often the luck of the draw comes getting involved into it.
All right, well, thanks, Bauer. That should be enough for clouds at the moment, particularly because it's not what's over the heads of the sailors, but what's under their feet at the moment that is determining where they end up on the racecourse. Indeed, it is the current that is pushing the boats up to the north-west at the moment that is driving the fleet in towards the coast. Just before we came on air, I had a chat with Bianca Cook about how this is playing out.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why all the boats are starting to head into the coast to get into the current. Once we get into the current, then we can jibe out again. But we're thinking once we get around the point, it'll probably be starboard jibe the whole way. But yeah, definitely with the current being this close to the coast and going with us, that's the most important thing for us, is to try and get into that current and start going with it.
All right, well, to have another crack at explaining exactly how that works out, let's have a look at the virtual analysis of the fleet right now. And now, this is a view that is relatively familiar to you now. You're used to seeing moving arrows on the screen, but in this case, it's a little bit different. This is the flow of current, not the flow of wind. Now, just to be clear, this is not tidal flow because it doesn't alternate back and forth a couple of times during the course of the day. These are the deep ocean currents that are always present and shift only slightly as sort of seasons and so on progress. Now, these big systems are driven by the wind, even though they are current flows in the water. As you know now, then we've got a high-pressure zone up in the North Atlantic and a high-pressure zone in the South Atlantic. Thank you very much. Those are beautiful isobars. In the middle, we've got the doldrums and really light wind, and that's sort of partially why it's so disturbed in the middle. But the big engine that's driving the development of this current flow that you see here are the circulating winds that in general do that. And so it is the wind that blows over the surface of the ocean and it's that interplay between those two elements that creates all of this energy that is rushing up, and that is the genesis of the Gulf Stream. However, talking about wind, let's have a look at it now. This is the big system here, the high pressure zone that is absolutely dominating all of the North Atlantic. It's pretty rare to see one anticyclonic system dominating quite so uniformly like that. So basically, as the boats go around the corner here and then sort of start trucking up towards Newport, they're going to have pretty nice reaching conditions as they go. However, let's have a look at what has been going on out on the racecourse for the past few hours. As the fleet have been approaching the northeast corner of Recife, they have broken away from these long parallel tracks and have started jibing as the wind has freed from a reach more to a run. Now, as Bianca explained, the boats are heading inshore, both to get around the corner and head up onto the route towards Newport, but also to get in for the maximum flow of the current to get pushed in behind them. Now, this is pretty exciting stuff because we haven't seen the fleet split like this in quite some time. Over on this side here, we have the former race leader on the water, Turn the Tide on Plastic, tucked in with Vestas just overtaken them. Overall race leader are here, Dongfeng Race Team, sort of seems to be heading a long way out to the west. In the middle, we have Team X Nobel and Mafre tucked in behind them. And then, as usual, we've got Sung Hun Kai trying to do something a little bit different out over here. However, for more perspective on what it's like to be tucked into this fleet here, let's hear again from Bianca Cook about life on board and who's in the cockpit with her.
So right now we have Francesca on the main, Liz on the helm, and Freddie on the grinder right next to me. We have Vestas just off our stern, Dongfeng up to windward, just a beam of us, and Brunel not too far off our hips. So we've had a few clouds that haven't really gone in our favour, and they've just crept up on us, really.
Do you now feel that you've got all of the toolbox required to stay with this fleet that's currently around you all the way to the finish?
Absolutely. We're definitely contenders in this race. Our confidence, like Lyndon said, is definitely growing over the last couple of legs, and we're only getting better and better. And I think as a team, we definitely back ourselves, and of course we can definitely stay with these guys and hopefully beat them to Newport.
When you started the race, it was all about learning, but with really high ambitions, and you have more than lived up to those. Now you've been leading the race for the past 4 days or so. Does that add a lot more pressure on you now that you know that you can do it and it's now down to the final details?
I think in the back of our minds we've always known that we can do it. It's absolutely down to finer details, We're very much concentrating on our performance, tweaking everything all the time. But yeah, the pressure's definitely more on you when you've got the boats just behind your backs. But it is quite nice to have a bit of a lead. But as a team, we're more than confident in our abilities to beat these guys to the finish.
Now, one of the fun things about the way that we put the show together is that it can be a little bit interactive, and we get to react to the questions that you put in the comments below. And one question that has sort of popped up consistently over the last couple of months is, what on earth are the sailors doing in the cockpit, sort of flailing away wildly? Well, some of you who have not sailed on these high-performance boats like the Volvo Ocean 65s may not know the way that the pedestal systems connect to the winches and pull on the sheets. Well, it's all to do with spinning those winches and generating the immense power required to pull in the hefty sheet loads required to make these boats that go so fast. I'm not going to be doing a demonstration in the studio, but earlier I stepped outside to have a bit of a play and look at different ways that the winches come together to make these boats work. So to explain this idea, we decided to start off super simple, super basic. This is the laser. 95% of sailors in the world started sailing on this boat. So basically, when you want to trim on because the sail is flapping or because you're going upwind, all you need to do, because the forces are small with small sails and with this nice purchase, all you need to do is just pull on by hand. But in a Volvo 65, you need a winch. When the loads get too big to pull by hand like I did on that laser, well, we're here on a cruising boat that's got winches, and we're getting closer to the Volvo 65. Same idea applies. Whack on the rope, pop in a little winch handle, and then away you go. And you get a lot more force by using the winch. But these little chestnuts, as cute as they are, wouldn't hack it on a Volvo 65. For that, we need something a lot bigger. On a Volvo ocean racing boat, you're going to need something a little bit more substantial, something like this. This monster can pull on sheet loads of 3 to 5 tons and can generate massive line speeds that you need for doing a high-speed jibe. Now, on leg 4, Martin Kurazori, when he was sailing on board Dongfang Racing, put together an awesome system preview about how all the system works. Check it out. So that was a great demonstration showing the power transferring from these pedestal handles directly into the sail. But it was kind of short, so if you blinked, you probably missed it. To give you a little bit more detail, basically this is a pedestal winch, and you've got these 2 opposing handles. Now inside you've got a chain belt that goes down here and then connects to this drive shaft, and then your drive shaft goes inside the boat, has a right angle, and then comes up into the base of this winch. And so every time that I spin the handles here, you can see that the rope is starting to get pulled as we go. So this is kind of the main sheet system here. You've got typically one pedestal that can either be dedicated to the main sheet or can be connected up with the other pedestals, so you can get 6 people winding these winches with all of their combined power. And then, much like the gearbox in your car, there's a gearbox in these winches here. So you've got a slow speed for getting maximum force multiplication from here to there. So that's when you're pulling in a really big load or doing that final trim. Here is kind of middle of the road, when you're cruising on the motorway kind of style, when you've got a decent amount of load, but still a lot of rope to pull in. But then you've got this sort of top turbo speed. Now this is when you pull out to overtake. Anyway, you get the idea. But and so you're using those top speeds for the first part of a jibe when you've got a lot of rope to move, but not so much load on the sheet. So I hope that all of that together has explained the idea of why you need to multiply the force, because we're just not strong enough to sail a Volvo 65 just by pulling on strings with our hands, and then the way that this all works on board these boats. Well, apologies about the audio on that clip. It's a little bit tricky out there in the wind, despite the fact that it's a beautiful day here in Alicante. However, out on the racecourse, there's one boat that's been having a particularly tricky time of it, particularly when it comes to the navigation. Here's navigator on board Sunkenkai Skywag, Libby Greenhouse, explaining about how tactical options taken on earlier in the race are now affecting life on board right now.
Yeah, so at the moment we're 75 miles behind, and we've sort of been losing somewhere between 6 and 12 miles each, scared on different boats. Kind of it resulted from us choosing to head north earlier than the rest of the fleet, who pushed further east, and we kind of got punished for that. It definitely wasn't the right decision, obviously, and we should have stuck with our original plan, which was always to get east of the fleet, tap when they tap, but just get the other side of them. We always knew there was going to be better pressure that side, but we were pushing along with the fleet, and we had a really big header in comparison to them, and we were falling down, and we thought maybe we'll just take a little hitch up, and then obviously you lose touch with the fleet, and then you kind of lose your positioning a bit on them. As a decision maker, in the roles David and I have, we can make a decision, and if it's a mistake, it's a big loss and affects the whole crew. The crew can make a mistake. We can do a bad peel, we lose 2 miles. That's still frustrating, but you don't lose many miles. And also, I think the crew often look to you to find the answers. Like in those situations where perhaps it's not because we've made a mistake, but if we're struggling with boat speed, it's to find the answers to get back in a race.
Well, now for a return to a lighter note. It is the weekend after all. Here's a little bit of well, it's not so much a highlight reel. It is a peek behind the curtain on life on board Dongfang Race Team and Vestas 11th Hour Racing. That's sort of some funny, light-hearted moments that don't normally make it into the action-packed, dramatic highlight reels that we normally show you.
Johnson & Johnson. Thinking about clothes a little bit clean. It's been six days in the same t-shirt. I changed my shorts a bit earlier, but I kind of don't want to crack out a new one yet. So I'm gonna bring this one back to life. The water's gonna be gross. It's just the PBO. It's just the rope. The rope's really yellow, and it's actually quite clean. It's just the colour of the water around here. Kind of gross again. Yeah. Clean.
Ouais, j'ai tout mélangé là. Hop, hop, hop. Go. Hey, il est trop fort ton père.
All right. Well, nicely done, Charles. That's all from us today, with the exception of the fact that I must remind you about the competition that we're running right now. Now, this, just to remind you, is the poster that has been signed by all of the skippers as a little memento from the race start here in Alicante. Beautiful, one of the kind, totally unique, not another one of these exists in the world, so don't forget to enter to try and win this. The way that you do that is to pop in the comments below your best guess for which boat, on which day, at which time UTC is going to cross the equator. The competition is live now and will be until the first boat gets to within 200 miles of the equator. These are the codes that you need to use, so hashtag EXO to get X Nobel if you think that that's the boat that's going to do it. Dongfeng Race Team, DFRT. Now, the competition is heating up out on the water, but also here in the comment boxes, because Larry Grant and Ken Douglas got out to an early lead with half a dozen entries yesterday, but Peter Templin set the standard and has entered more than 20 times. So clearly, if you're serious about trying to win that poster, these are the codes you need to do, and you need to pick the moment that you think that the boat is going to cross the line. So, lots coming up. Tomorrow we'll be back with a quick fix and a daily show, and lots more fun out on the race course.